Well, between my wife and Pamela, Kevin can do no wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is that his cleaver?
They go to the store and they go like, he says, "What can I get you today?" And they just go like, whatever you want. It's embarrassing. Hello, I'm standing right here.
Obviously, they don't care about that.
Hello.
Hi, Danica.
Hi, Tom.
Thanks for doing this, Danica.
Hi, Danica.
Hi, Terry. My pleasure, Pamela.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time.
Danica, I realized I almost spoke out of turn when I was talking on the intro about what you do for work. But I didn't, just so you know.
Excellent.
Okay, here we go.
I feel like we got James Bond on the.
Welcome back. It's the Hot Stove Society show here at the Hotel Andra in downtown Seattle. On Friday night, that is tonight, we are hosting an event for care.org, one of the many Ukrainian relief funds that are out there right now. And my partner, Eric Tanaka's wife, Danica Noble, recently returned from a stint in Kiev, or Kyiv, as I've learned how to pronounce it, watching CNN, and felt strongly about assisting displaced children and families, which, God, it's just so soul-crunching when you watch it on TV. I can't even imagine the trauma, which is the central work of CARE. So she got busy connecting us, which is why we're doing our big Ukrainian supper tonight with the Ukrainian community here in the Seattle area. So we thought it might be interesting for Danica to connect our listeners if people want to support and to do they're kind of like their own little event at their own home with maybe some Ukrainian products that are out and about. So hi, Danica. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us about your interest in Ukraine and what you fell in love with over there while you spent some time there, and maybe where people can find some products around Seattle or some interesting clubs, Ukrainian clubs or whatever it is. However you found the music that we're having tonight or the bakers that we're going to support, things like that.
Sure. Well, I had the good fortune to get the opportunity to travel to Ukraine and to live in Kyiv. And I got to work alongside some Ukrainians, and it was a tremendous experience. I really enjoyed it. And while I was there, just as I would do anywhere, I certainly tried to eat as much as I could.
That's our
and
girl.
I found, yeah. And I found that there was some really delicious food there. One of my favorite parts actually was across the street from the apartment I stayed in was what we might call a farmer's market, but they would call a peasant's market. And it was folks who grew all sorts of fruits and vegetables and nuts on their own farms, their own personal farms. They're called dachas. And they would come and they would sell them kind of farmer market style on the street just across from my apartment. And I was struck while I was there, I'd want some tomatoes or cucumbers. And there would just be so many varieties and so many colors, nothing standard, just what people had been growing in their homes. So that was really neat and fun to taste a lot of different varieties of vegetables and fruit grown over there. So I really enjoyed that.
So that's different, say, like when you go down to a market in Paris, right? They're generally traveling markets. They set up on a day of the week, and they're often buying food from wholesale houses that are then now in the market.
Yeah, this is the fruits and vegetables that people had grown on their own, pieces of property, and eggs, so beautiful, tomatoes that were so tasty.
Yeah, I think I think it happens also in more like in North Africa. I've seen that in North Africa as well. People from their own garden, they come up to the market because it's not, like she said, it's not a farmer's market. It's more like it's just a market.
Yeah.
And then,
people have access.
Come with a chair on the table, and then you put your stuff on it, and then you sell it. And that's an extra income for their household.
What else struck you about the food over there, Danica, and the traditions of around the table?
Yeah, well, I learned that Ukraine speaks the same love language as I do, which is a language of bread. And so just as often as you'd see like a trash can or a stoplight, you would see a mini bread kiosk on the streets in Kyiv. And so these are women who are often women baking bread all day, and it's just fresh and it comes out hot, and I loved the bread there.
Oh, I would gain some
I-
weight. I would gain some weight quickly in Ukraine. Oh,
One of the first things I did was also run in a half marathon there to keep up because, yeah, there was a lot of bread I was eating, and it was great. So wheat and bread are very important in Ukraine. And so one of the things I noticed is at, official events, if they were recognizing someone, or even at memorials where we might expect to see bouquets of flowers, we would often see bouquets of wheat there, just marking how important.
Yeah, I think between Russia and Ukraine, that's they're the only. I think they produce more than the U.S. does in wheat.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we're the
they're the biggest producer of wheat in the world.
Yeah, big market. And cheesy bread too. Lots of stuffed doughs like kefir dough.
Yeah, a lot of cheesy bread, and that really is something I enjoy a lot. So my standard lunch would be going downstairs from the building I worked in and trying one of the maybe 17 kiosks within a block of where I work and just sampling their various cheesy breads.
Fun. Okay, so if people want to, we're doing this event tonight. I'm sure you're going to be here. If people want to think Ukrainian for a while here in Seattle, where have you found some access points to products that people might find useful to put on a Ukrainian supper?
Well, there are some rich Ukrainian cultural roots here in Seattle. The Ukrainian Association of Washington has been around since the early 70s, and they have been instrumental in kind of creating some of the rallies in support of Ukraine, and they are collecting an enormous amount of aid, and they've got a website. That's nice. But as far as food, we are so lucky up where Eric and I live, because on about 132nd in Aurora is a grocery store and cafe called European Foods. And this is owned and run by a Ukrainian woman, Oksana, and her son, Greg. And they carry a variety of foods from not just Ukraine, but also Bulgaria, Moldova, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland. And they have a cafe adjacent to this store. And Eric and I have eaten there a few times, and it is really terrifically delicious. So for the event tonight, we are having them prepare some of the foods that we really enjoyed. And so the folks who attend tonight will get to sample. But I would really recommend that as kind of an undercover food destination for Seattle. Go visit it sometime. They're open 6 days a week. And if you order something in the cafe, Oksana comes out from the kitchen, checks with you, and then just, whips it up from scratch. It's pretty delicious. So I would say that was a real gem of a place to check out.
So it's called, once again, it's called the European Foods. European Foods. Good. So fun. I wish that, I know everyone that's listening right now, sorry, this happened last night here at the hot stove, or Friday night, the 18th. But we wish that, I think our goal here today is just to kind of help keep the awareness up about what's going on in Ukraine, and don't let it slip away. I know we have short attention spans, but this is a big deal. Don't let it slip away in your world, and maybe go out and make a Ukrainian supper for your friends. God, the mutton soup that's in this book. The book that I'm working out of tonight is called Mamushka, Mamushka. It's a cookbook by Olia Hercules, which is good because my grandson's name is Hercules.
You were going there.
And it's recipes from Ukraine and Eastern Europe. Danica, if you don't have this book, I think you would love it.
I think you're going to gift it to her.
I've looked at it. I've looked at it online, but it's sold out everywhere. So we're on some waiting lists. We want to get that. It does look beautiful.
Yeah, the recipes are amazing looking. Well, thank you for jumping in and finding us a musician for tonight. And we're going to try and raise a lot of money. I know it just through tickets we're at 12,000, so we'll have to see what else we can put in the mix there to try and get up to 15,000 or 20,000.
Yeah, thank you so much for your help on this, Danica. That's really cool.
Well, it really is my pleasure, and the thanks goes to you and to the incredible talents of Hot Stove Society and Pamela and making this happen. Couldn't have been nearly as successful without you. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, it's in your honor. Okay, when we come back, we still have a long time to go on this show. But Chef Terry, what are we going to talk about in the next segment?
Celeriac,
Yes, indeed.
also known as celery root.
Yes, that's how I like to say it. Celery root. When we come back, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
Thank you, Danica.
Oh, my pleasure.
You were
Anytime.
terrific.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you tonight.
Hey, Sean, is it working or no?
Yeah, but also like our internet can only provide so much. So like when everyone's
Oh, your internet. Okay.
Oh, he's blaming the internet. Last week he blamed the computer. This week he's blaming the internet.
We'll pass this around.
Well, I'm having
Did you
a
get your new computer?
no, we actually got a new board, which is also popular, but
Ready.
much stable. What happened is they kind of crashed the combination of the two.
Okay, sure.
he just wants you to get a new computer.
No.
But we just want to make sure we get the right one, the right price point.
I don't think I said that. I just said get a new one.
Sean is being diligent about
Exactly.
the research of what is exactly
No matter
happening.
what you do, make sure you don't buy one that needs to be changed next year.
We're updated every Friday at night.
Right, exactly. Or don't do what CenturyLink did to me. My internet was down. They had a problem that they went down for like a month. I couldn't even send a document attached at my home. And I finally called them and said, I'm so tired of this. And they sold me into fiber. They came and installed fiber, and it's worse than it was before.
Yeah, my internet at home is so bad.
I'm like,
Problem.
and then they sent me a bill this morning. It was $400. I'm like, you're out of your mind.
I was watching it on my computer. That's all I'm saying. But it might be, or why it kind of.
You could just watch it up here, Chef.
No, I'm not trying to watch it. I'm trying to see how it works. I'm only trying to check the goods. That's all. I'll reset it.
Doing technology with this group is really.
Oh, listen to you. Listen to you, big talker.
I included myself.
We're back. It's the Hot Stove Society Show.
I'm Terry Rotero, the chef in a hat.
And I'm Tom Douglas. Thank you for joining us. I had a delicious breakfast at Lola this morning, and it's,
It's still there.
well, I only meant to eat half. It was
Oh.
Eggs Benedict, but it was really good.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I ate the whole damn thing.
I had cereal, just so you know.
Good job, Chef. Let's talk
Celeriac.
celeriac.
So this is a French word, by the way, celeriac.
Oh,
is-
really?
But
Yeah.
in the store, you're not going to see it. Most likely, you're going to see it on the celery root.
Mhm.
And it's that big giant ball that you see in the vegetable section. Then you walk by and it's deformed and you look at it and you go, interesting. And then you walk by.
Yeah, you don't buy it.
You don't buy it because you're like, most people, are like, they take it in their hand. They go, what could you possibly do with
Well,
this?
oftentimes, so it's got the rounded top, which gets a little green right up by the roots,
Yeah.
right up by the
The
upper
leaf.
growth, and then the bottom is a little bit kind of hairy roots on the bottom
Yeah.
that are almost always trimmed, but there's lots of nooks and crannies.
And
that-
nubbies and
Yeah, so
no, it
it is
is-
intimidating if you have never cooked with it before.
is not attractive on the outside, but yet delicious on the inside. I mean, I think it's one of those super well hidden gems.
So let's
because-
talk about how to buy it first. So like for many things in produce, to me, when I pick it up, I want it to feel heavy for its size.
Correct.
And I want it to be nice and firm. If it's
Correct.
spongy, it's been sitting around too long.
Yeah. If it's spongy, it's going to be plenty of holes in it. It's going to be melting in your pan before you even start.
Yeah.
it's not going to be as tasty for sure. So yes, all of
So
the
nice
above.
and firm, heavy for its size.
Absolutely.
And then next thing you do, you bring it home.
Yeah.
You give it a good scrub with like
Correct.
your dish scrubber
Or
because it has serious nooks and crannies.
or you peel it with a knife.
No, you have to scrub it first because it's a root. It often is dirty.
Yeah, but I mean, if you take a knife and you peel it, you're gonna get rid of everything, including the skin.
Okay, so there's that question about it because if you take a knife and peel it, you're going to lose about at least 25 or 30% of your root.
Well,
right?
okay, so number one, and most foremost, if you really want to peel a celery root to the tender part, there is a skin and there is a layer right below the skin. Then you see that marks the celery root.
Mm-hmm.
You peel below that
Mm-hmm.
because that's the woody part. And if you peel below that, you'll have nothing but white meat and gorgeous meat. There is a little waste on the skin of a celery root, just like turnips.
Especially at the bottom where the root nubs are.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and I always use a knife. I never use a peeler to do a celery root because it's useless actually in that section.
We'll just agree to disagree on that
It's okay. It's
because I hate throwing all that product away.
well, I hate throwing anything away, but there are certain limits.
I was doing a stage at the Union Square Cafe in
Uh-huh.
Manhattan one time, and I watched him take. No, it was at Gramercy Tavern. I watched him take a crate of celery roots out, and the young prep cook literally just took a knife and made a square out of the heart of the celery root and threw everything else away.
Okay, now you're talking
was
about extreme.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. That's stupid.
Because he wanted perfect little cubes.
Of course you did.
You
Yeah.
start if you want a perfectly low cube, you start with a big one.
Tom Colicchio was the chef. Yeah, Tom Colicchio was the chef at that time. Of course, it's a big round. That's why it's
Yeah.
funny. Anyway, okay, now we've peeled it. It's very white
It's
at this
very
point.
white and it oxidizes, meaning that if you leave it on the counter for an hour or two, it will start to darken a little bit.
Tarnish a little
Yeah,
bit.
tarnish.
Yeah, but
So you want to use it.
I
fairly-
personally don't have a problem with that.
I-
It's like,
I-
that's why apple juice is brown, right? It starts clear and it turns brown. It's
Correct.
oxidized.
Correct.
Doesn't make it bad.
I didn't say anything about bad.
I know
just-
you didn't. I know.
I was just
saying.
describing not to panic if it
Yeah.
turns slightly golden brown. It's okay. But two ways to use it. For me, it's either you cook it. So when you cook celery root, in the old days when I started apprenticeship, you were always making what's called a blanc, which is a white, which is a little bit of flour and a lot of water, and that starch would keep anything like salsify, celery root, anything you would boil of that root vegetable section, it would keep them really white. I don't do that anymore. I've stopped doing that a long time
Yeah.
ago. And just a little lemon juice if you want to keep it white. And that's plenty. It's just like an artichoke idea. But so anyway, you can boil the celery root, you can roast the celery root, or you can have it raw,
Yeah.
julienne. And all three are very different and they're super delicious, different flavor. But you know, a good celery root leeks and potato soup is such a delicious thing to do. You know, it's like sweat your onions, add your celery root, add your leeks, sweat that, add your cubes of celery root, put a little bit of vegetable stock or chicken stock, cook that down a little bit till everything is totally smush and tender, and then add a little bit of creme fraiche, blend the whole thing up, and you get this wonderful soup.
So you said celery root and potato, but you only added celery root in
Oh.
that. So you meant to add some of both,
Correct.
right?
Potatoes
Okay,
as well,
all right.
cube potato.
My favorite is celery root remoulade. So a
Mm,
classic kind of Creole
Love
remoulade,
that.
which is a mayo base with Tabasco and whole seed mustard and lots of lemon juice and zest and lots of parsley and I just take on the mandolin, make nice thin shreds of the celery root. It's so crispy and delicious and unctuous and
Yeah.
I just love that salad and that's classic in my mind with a nice little slab of pate or you can use it on anything. I've put it on fried green tomato sandwiches with celery root remoulade or things of that nature. I love
yeah.
that
Celery
flavor.
root
and
remoulade.
texture. It's a good texture.
Every time I think of celery root in salad style, like remoulade or mayonnaise or whatever, first thing I think about is Dungeness crab meat.
Yeah, perfect.
Whoa, right on top, a whole bunch of it. Ooh, delicious.
I want that.
Yeah, me too. Forget your eggs Benedict. Let's move on. Celery root and crab
Crab.
right
Uh-huh.
now for breakfast.
So now, as an accent flavor, it works also, right? So let's say you're making mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving, and you just have big pile of mashed potatoes. But if you were to add, say, make it down to 50% potatoes, 20% parsnips,
Yep.
20% celery root, 10% maybe a turnip.
Yep.
The reason I don't love turnips in it is they're too watery sometimes. But then you have this root vegetable mash, and it, or you could even leave out the turnips and put in sweet potatoes, and you have a little color in your mashed potato then.
Or you could just do potato and celery root. It's a good
Yeah.
match. It matches really well because the celery root will have a little bit of that celery flavor coming through the potato and the starch of, and the richness of that potato, especially if you use like yellowfin potato instead of russet. You get that extra luxuriousness, you know.
Right.
Mm.
Tomorrow night, I'm doing a benefit dinner for Fair Start,
Uh-huh.
and we're doing a celery root gratin.
Mm.
And so, but in my gratins,
You're doing a gratin?
I am. Can you imagine that?
He's always mocking me in my gratin.
He makes everything.
You know what is funny? He goes, seems like
you want eggs
Tom
Benedict?
Douglas
Let's
always
have an eggs Benedict gratin. But anyway, one of the ways that we do it to, I think, make it a little bit better for me. I love when you make gratin. I like all the brown areas, right?
Oh, sure.
And so we do them in cookie sheet pans that have maybe a 1/2-inch rim on them. And then so you can spread it out. And we just do a much wider square. We
Right.
cut them into like a 4x4 or
Put
6x6
Put the
square.
meat on top.
Yeah, you put the meat on top,
Yeah.
right? And then just you get the kind of broiled glaze
Sure.
on the gratin.
More crust is better.
Yeah.
I think it's
'Cause so often you get a gratin and it's like an inch or an inch and a half thick.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a little bit like eating a rare steak, like a rare filet mignon.
or roast beef. Yeah.
You get the delicious crust on the outside, and then it's all raw meat on the inside. And that's a little bit how I feel like with a gratin that's stacked too tall.
Yeah. And if you do a celery root, I used to do a celery root and carrot gratin, which was, it was really nice. And
Let me
it
guess, it
al-
was delicious.
it was really good.
It was really good.
Yes, it was delicious.
Yeah.
It was my favorite thing to add to that is a little bit of grated nutmeg
Mhm.
and salt. That's it. Grated nutmeg and salt.
And why do you say that's it?
Because I
'Cause
don't
think
want to.
people often put too much stuff in, right?
Yeah, I think that there are certain things where you put seasoning. Like if you're doing a rub, obviously you're doing more spices, more mixture. You're trying to get a crust on the outside and the flavor, sometime to cure or marinate with. But in the case of celery root, to me, it's one of those vegetables that it gives nicely, but don't overpower. I mean, don't come with cinnamon and all that stuff because it's gonna overpower it, and you're gonna lose the beautiful thing about the celery root itself.
It's the fragrance.
Yeah.
Right? It's got a beautiful fragrance.
Yeah, don't mess with the good stuff.
If you think about celery itself being kind of a thin, watery fragrance, unless you're eating the leaves,
Right.
Celery root is an earthy version of that.
Correct.
In my mind, it's got a different
But
kind
it
of.
also has a delicateness. I think celery root is delicate in terms of the flavor itself. I mean, it's not as pungent as lovage or like you just said, celery. Celery is more, to me, it's more abrupt. But celery root is delicate. It's a beautiful root.
Have you ever tried to grow one? I have not.
Never grilled celery root. No.
Not grilled, grow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I have.
Oh, have you?
I thought you said
How
grilled.
did it
I was
go?
like, no, I haven't. Grown, yes. It's a big. I mean, to pull out of the ground, it's actually it's a big stub in the
Yeah,
in the
it's
ground.
like pulling a tree trunk out.
Yeah, and it grows kind of like carrot do, where you kind of see the top part of it, coming out of the ground. You're like, should I pick it? Should I pick it? You wait. If you wait too long, it rots.
Oh, really?
Oh, it will rot easily. Yeah,
Huh.
it's not even though it looks like it's a very hard and sturdy vegetable, it's actually for the worm to get in there or for anything like this. Mother Nature definitely loves celery root, I think.
Well, they're a little bit sweet.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it
Right.
rots. But
Same
you
with
think
parsnip.
about beets and parsnips being able to winter over.
Oh no,
you-
they winter very
Oh, they
well.
do,
Oh
okay.
yeah. They winter very well. But I'm just saying, if you wait, when you're in your garden and you do it for the first time, you're like, so when do I pick this thing? And you pick one, you go, too small. So you wait another month and you go, oh, too big. Or oops, it's half eaten by the other people in the ground.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I think it's a gorgeous vegetable. It's easy to grow, by the way. Just needs water.
All right, listeners, I want when I go to the grocery store next and I go to buy celery root, I want it to be out of stock because you've all listened and you've all gone to your store and you're out there trying it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big tryout. Please do try it. It's
And we're not
worth-
being paid by the
Celery
celeriac commission.
Commission.
Is there such a thing?
I don't think so.
Not yet. Not until it becomes wildly popular.
Until we get a phone call.
Up next, many cities, including Seattle, are looking at restricting permits for gas lines in new construction. Why are they doing that? When we come back on Cairo Radio, it's the Hot Stove Society show.
Tired of the smell?
Just
go electric.
Coyote Bridget.
If our city council spends a minute on anything other than cleaning up downtown,
Yeah, they're gonna get fired. Did you see the? I mean, Wednesday.
well, last night I went to the symphony last night and it was
It's
super
ridiculous.
sad.
Yeah, it's very sad down there. Second and Third Avenue down there is ridiculous.
I'm 6'2", 280, and when I don't feel safe, and I see nice little old ladies and old men walking in front of me by themselves through the core, it was maddening.
And Wednesday they were gonna go in, and then they backed off. And then what happened after that?
I don't know why that it was never explained,
No.
but there's nowhere to put them. I'll say that. These are hardcore drug users.
Right.
Yeah, since Amazon pulled their people out to make them safe, we could put the. Yeah.
With all the money we spent on it, just built a building, a big area, and then figuring
You
out.
can't. These people are hardcore drug users. I watched 30 guys shooting up and doing speedballs right in the middle of the symphony
Sidewalk.
sidewalk.
Well, we need to find a space for them to go.
To go, we ourselves as voters have turned down institutions. We've turned down all the mental health. We just don't want to pay for it.
Which is so silly because we're
Well-
paying for it right now.
We're paying for a lot of things, but I'm just saying, I mean, this isn't a new problem.
No, of
It's
course.
just exacerbated right,
Right,
now. So-
right.
But it's definitely it's so different. Like I have businesses right here at Fourth. If you go down to Fourth and Union, which is what, 5 blocks away,
Yeah.
it's like a different world.
Oh yeah.
It's
No,
really
no.
felt like ground zero. Third and Union.
Hello, Brigitte. Did you say your? Because that's what we see.
We
in
can
the
put
back.
some eyeballs on there on the back.
I like the way you work that tail. That's cool.
I don't know what you're talking about. I had a samurai.
Ooh.
Getting ready for induction.
Do we need an introduction?
Hey, you're back in the kitchen here at the hot stove. If you've never been to a class here, you're missing out on one of the fabulous culinary instructors here in Seattle, and Chef Bridget Charters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Many
absolutely.
years now.
Many of the
Oh,
young,
not that many.
many of the young cooks around Seattle. Yes, she is that old. Many of the young cooks around Seattle have been in her classes over the years down at the Art Institute. Some of the young cooks over at Inglewood High School have been in her classes. Where else have you taught over the years? Were you at South Seattle some? No.
Seattle Central.
Seattle Central?
And then when I first rolled into town, I taught at Cook's World.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Cook's World.
Over by U Village, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I taught there once or twice.
Me too. Yeah.
Anyway, Bridget is an instructor here at the Hot Stove and also does a lot of work with the Food and Wine Festival organization, both in Aspen, and South Beach, and down in Miami. You just came back from there, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What was the most exciting thing you saw in South Beach?
The sun.
Actually, you're right, Katie. The weather was awesome. Usually we get rain squalls that come through, and the whole time it was 80 degrees,
Yeah.
light
Oh.
breeze. It
Hmm.
felt so good.
I've cooked at that event a few
I'm
times.
still not
and
moving
it-
to Florida.
It literally is on the beach. The tents are on the beach, and it is multi-thousands of people.
Yeah, and Jose was there. He showed up and did
No
the
way.
Jose Andres, yeah.
He came back.
He
No.
he came. Rachel Ray called in sick. She got COVID. And so anyway, he jumped in on the Burger Bash and was gonna jump in on a demo last minute. Morimoto dropped out. I don't know if he had COVID too, but anyway,
Oh, he's still sore from 15 years ago when we took him down in Iron Chef.
Exactly.
He heard I was going to be there. He didn't want to show.
Yeah,
his face.
exactly. He heard Tom was coming. He's like, okay, I'm leaving.
I'm leaving. Yeah, that's it. No. So anyway, Jose the next day had to cancel his demo because he lost his voice,
Ah.
and then he flew up the day after that to Ukraine.
Ukraine, yeah.
Yeah. The dude's
I
on
think
the
I
move.
saw him on CNN in Poland. Or if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
That's where he landed and then headed across.
He's on speed, that guy, man. He's like,
Oh man,
he's amazing.
it's amazing how. Yeah.
Let's talk about. I know on those stages when I do these events around the country, those stages are often buttressed with convection burners compared to what we're used to cooking on here, and there's been years and years of chefs saying gas is so much better, gas is so much better, and that sort of thing. And now we're starting to see where induction is becoming a little bit more the norm and also the law, which is crazy, isn't it, to think?
Yeah.
Tell us about induction.
So, Chef Teddy could probably tell us more because it came about, I think, around the time of sous vide, right? Back in the
70s.
70s, and
But those were not as good. I mean,
they're not as
the
refined.
progress that they have made is tremendous and
It's amazing.
quite cool. I mean, I think that a dream stove is a glass top where you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and to have an induction cooking.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm all for it in terms of the vote of that compared to the problem with gas to me is the pollution of it. Which is probably the same reason they want to get rid of it.
Wow.
But I think the pollution of it is quite tremendous. And we don't realize it when we're cooking. But I can tell you that once I got sick a year ago or so,
Your
and
pneumonia.
yeah, and then I got scanned on my lungs and everything. They were like, "So what do you do for a living?"
Oh, no kidding.
I was like,
because of the gas?
"Well, I know, but I'm the one who's going with that deduction." They go, "We don't have any proof of that or whatever," obviously. But they, to me, I'm convinced with all the 45, 50 years I've been in the kitchen,
It's
then
got to have an effect.
then there is definitely an unhealthy side to that part of cooking. I mean, how many times have you cooked on a stove that had burning stuff around it and, carbon, whatever, all that stuff, all those fumes? Yeah, you have a hood, but it's got to go up and it's got to go through your nose before it goes into the hood.
Right. Yeah, it's
So-
true. So,
All those fats that we have burned, all those pans that were too hot, all those,
Right.
all those different things that you do. And you're going to say, yeah, you can get a pot too hot on the induction. Yes. But you can't have something on a glass top that falls off and you not go sweep it right away. And there is no burning into that.
correct.
So
Right.
an easiness, by the way, of cleaning a glass stove versus a cast iron stove is a lot easier.
So let's
Right.
talk about that for a second. It's glass, but some of the inductions that I've worked on, it's actually cool to the touch, but it gets hot with the certain metal of the pan interaction with what's inside under the glass, right?
Correct. So you can put a dollar bill between the plate and the pan, and it basically just irons the dollar bill.
Mhm.
It never burns. It never colors.
Chris,
Weird.
I
It's
love
magnetic.
Chris-
So it's that transfer of energy through the metal of the pan. So literally, if you put a piece of paper on the induction, we've got some here. I'll show you, Pam. It's amazing. So yes, it's handy. The thing about it is you've got to maintain contact.
Right.
Right.
And you have
You
to have
know.
a certain type of pan, right? A certain thickness
Correct.
of
Right. And so when I heard you say, oh, you got to get new pans. Well, you do, especially if you want a saute pan, your cast iron will work. We got into this in South Beach because a number of chefs wanted to use a grill pan. And
Oh,
we
yeah.
were all like, ruh-roh.
Cast iron grill.
Right. And so, how are you going to find a cast iron grill pan that has a completely smooth bottom? Because they fracture. They're fragile that way. But if you have, they don't have a completely flat bottom. They've got some shape and a frame to them. And so they'll work and they'll transfer heat. They've got to stay on there longer,
And you've done a million demos on these, and you've watched chefs of all ilks, whether you're
Correct.
cooking Asian or cooking with Jose or whoever you're cooking with. We only have a couple of minutes. What's the technique difference, right? When I've done it, you have to kind of, in my mind, pull your pan to the side a little bit. But when you want to turn it up or turn it down, it's instant.
The heat transfer is instant. What you have to be is calm. So when Pam mentioned Eric Repair was saying that he liked it, you literally need to be a pastry chef and just be super uber calm, and you can't touch the pan, because if you slide it off the heat, beep, it beeps at you and it turns off.
Okay.
So it's super frustrating. Yes, you can get it to go up and down, and it's immediate, but psychologically, we chefs are so used to kind of looking at the pan, moving it around. You don't touch,
Right.
because otherwise it'll beep and goes off. And we went through this in South Beach,
Which isn't necessary. Well, then you have to turn it back on.
right? And
Yeah,
then so
so
somebody's
that's
got
there's
to
a
be
little
there,
process
and the
there,
chef's trying to do the demo, and the thing's going beep, beep,
Yeah.
beep, beep, beep. Janet was there. Janet's looking at me, and I'm like, I can't take it. I gotta go. And I left. I was like, deal with it. Because there's nothing you can do. So she had to hop up there during the demo, and hit the button.
Get it restarted. Yeah.
Correct. And
But it
was,
does, if you have, let's say you have a pot that's just about to boil over, like of cream or pasta water or something,
right.
you can just pull it to the side and
Slide it right off.
instantly it's
Clicks
off.
right
Yeah.
off. Yeah. Heat's gone. The heat is gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally the minute you slide it off.
So to finish, if the city council comes down the pike and does this, bans new gas lines in the buildings, are you for or against it?
I'm for it. Like Terry said, I mean, it's a whole nother set of infrastructure to get the piping for gas into these high-rise buildings. Think of all that metal and all that infrastructure to get gas into the building. They already have electricity in the building. Boom.
But if everyone moves to induction, that's a lot more electricity.
It's a lot
Right.
more electricity.
And producing electricity is not exactly the cleanest way also. So,
Correct.
we need to get into the new energy and figuring out how to, but that's another subject. But
Yeah.
yes,
I mean, imagine a place like Florida. They have no hydroelectric.
And like here, where there's earthquakes, we don't want to have gas lines rupturing. We have another full hour going on here. Thank you, Bridget, for that. Are you going to play
No problem.
trivia with
Oh
us?
man, I'm ready.
It's been a while since we've taken
Wow.
a butt. Yeah, it's been a while. I'm looking forward to it. When we come back on Cairo Radio, it's Women's History Month. Pay tribute to some female chefs. 97.3
I think
FM.
you should join me.
Okay. I was trying to think of who was the woman chef in Boston? She had
Lydia?
Lydia Shire.
Shire.
Yeah. She was the one I was trying to think of.
Here, keep that.
And then the other one are the two hot tamales.
Oh yeah, Susan Finnegar and
Sue Milliken.
Because they were kind of the first,
They're still active. I was just on a conference call with Mary Sue and Susan on Monday with the Monterey Bay Aquarium
really?
Surf Safe program.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys were,
Safe seafood.
because she was saying, who did I look up to when I was in culinary school? And I was like,
the teacher.
yeah. But they were all men. There were no women.
That's the point. Yeah.
But down in LA, that book that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Have you read it, Tom? It's called Chefs, Drugs, Rock and Roll.
Who wrote that?
Andrew Friedman.
Oh,
Awesome. Hysterical book. You
he's
guys
a
have
funny
to read
guy.
it.
He can be a funny guy.
Oh my God. Really funny guy. And what a great book. But they are mentioned. The two hot tamales are mentioned in the
When did that book come out?
about 3 years ago or so.
Huh. Totally missed that.
Yeah.
Chef, drug, and rock and
A
roll.
lot of women chefs that when I was doing the chefy thing around the
Oh,
country,
here. Oh, yeah.
tons of women chefs.
Now,
Well, it was
But they-
starting.
No, then during my my heyday.
but there was a time before that when it was still so male
There was time before
dominated.
me?
Yeah, Tom, when you were
Hard
up,
to- hard to
Tom,
imagine.
Tom,
I
when you-
don't believe it.
when you were apprentice and I was apprentice, there was no woman in the kitchen.
Exactly.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
This
There
is
was a
the
woman when
spot.
I was apprentice. She was the dishwasher.
Nah.
Remember to say that.
I will,
That's what we're trying to get to.
of course.
Yeah, but like Nora Poulon is another one. She
Yeah,
was a chef.
I was just thinking about
and-
her, and I was thinking about Alice. It was
Right.
1970s,
Right.
early 70s.
Well, they
There
were
was a time
pioneers.
before that.
They were no, but they.
Julia Child was
Pam's got
Madeline
the list.
Madeline Common.
Well, she was like Lorenza,
Madame
and
la
like
Grande Bouffe.
Anna
The Medici.
Toscalancha,
Madame la Grande Bouffe.
Ann Willen. Yeah,
and Willan, holy smokers.
yeah. You guys are just making stuff up. There's
No,
Oh,
We're
oh my God,
no.
there
Tom.
were- I will say that maybe there weren't as many women chefs in the kitchen, but there were
That's what we
women
said.
chefs represented in the field. MFK Fisher. I mean, there's lots of
but they weren't
history of-
chefs. They weren't slogging it out on.
They
the
were not
line.
considered chef.
Sure, they were. Julia was considered a chef,
Yeah, but
No, she even said she wasn't a chef.
but she was.
she is
I
in your
understand
eyes.
a restaurant chef and a chef are two different things.
I tell you that 50 years ago, you would have asked any male chef in any kitchen around the world if they knew any woman chef, and they would have said, no.
I'm trying to decide if I was alive 50 years ago. Was I?
Well, but Terry, in France and in Italy, there were women chefs of restaurants,
course there were.
bistros, and
People,
Not a
bistros.
ton.
This is the
if
segment.
you
Let's
look
get
at-
to it.
Hey, you know what? One woman we need to mention is La Mère Brasier, which
Well,
is the one that taught
how was
Paul
that?
Bocuse,
was that?
Pierre Trois Gros. She's the
Oh.
one
What
who
was I
taught
saying?
all those three Michelin
Yeah.
star.
And let's look at different cultures where women ruled the kitchen, like
Right.
Thailand, Vietnam.
Aha!
there.
Pam's gonna go. Dang it!
All right, we're back in the kitchen.
wait,
It's hot.
wait.
Oh,
Do
yep.
we have enough food for one more person for another $3,000 tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
For another 3. What?
Yeah, Kathy said she'll buy.
I'm
a
not getting
ticket.
it.
No, I know, but that's
Kathy
nice.
said she'll buy a ticket. She just can't come.
Kathy, who?
Connor.
Connor?
No, for Fair Start. I mean,
Oh, for
talking
Fair Start.
Do we have enough
Yes.
chefs?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's Bridget's job.
You don't get a
Jackie's
snack.
getting
You don't
a-
get a chef
Yeah,
snack
you know,
now.
don't get a snack.
Exactly. You know that
Jackie's
something we're gonna
stopping
have?
for the escarole today and stuff. At
Who is
PCC.
Jackie is?
yeah.
Okay.
Can we now get back to the show? Our YouTube fans are.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Welcome back. Chef Charter's just going to stay with us apparently for this next segment. Pamela, tell us about this segment here that you have crafted into the show.
It's Women's History Month.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to look back to how the culinary scene in the United States has changed from this beautiful cookbook, the Women's Exchange Cookbook from 1894, which describes what the role of women was in the culinary world. It was focused on feeding our families.
Right.
And in offering the Women's Exchange Cookbook to the mothers, housekeepers, and cooks over the land, we do so feeling it will prove a lasting good to each and all of our women. So we have now, with the help of many influential and important women, come to this modern version where there are strong, talented, flavorful women who have changed the whole scene and gotten women out of the home kitchens and leading trends and causes. And I want us to talk about
And,
those.
and leading brigades in commercial
leading
kitchens.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So I think Terry said in the break, he remembers the male-dominated time in the professional kitchens
Absolutely.
when
I
the
mean,
women
where
were
I
only
come
the
from-
dishwashers.
Yeah, when I come from where I was apprentice, there was definitely no woman in the restaurant. There was only one woman, and she was the dishwasher.
Yeah.
There was no cooks, that were female whatsoever, and that was not even I'm sure then those guys back then didn't even think of that. They didn't even think of that time. That doesn't mean there was no woman chef. I mean, the perfect example in France and the contrast of that is if you go to Lyon, there's a place called La Mère Brasier, who was the mother institution of where all those big chefs and names of classic Paul Bocuse, Loiseau, all those guys went and learned from La Mère Brasier. So there was obviously a woman at the start, like in every story, right? It starts with a woman, always. And to say that there was no woman chef back then is not necessarily 100% true, but there's definitely been a resurgence and a welcome resurgence to balance out in the kitchen, restaurant kitchen, where female have taken in a lot of kitchen they have taken over. And I love working with any woman chef I work with. I've never had any issues. I love the balance it brings to the kitchen compared to the machoism that men most often have.
Bridget, why don't you take a rip at relating that to the Seattle kitchens, because you've been around Seattle for what, in the professional ranks for 30 some years?
Yeah.
So, and
90s.
we've all seen what happened in the 80s at the Sheraton Hotel with
my God.
Kathy and Monique Barbeau and I'm trying to
Danielle Custer.
Danielle Custer.
Yeah, I mean, they went all in on women chefs there, and literally for years, different women chefs. I'm trying to think of the woman who went on to be on TV quite a bit.
Oh,
Kathy
she's
Casey.
in. No.
Kathy Casey.
The gal that was on.
She moved to Portland with John for a
Right.
while. I
Right.
can't remember her name. She'll kill me if she's listening to this.
I know.
But anyway, so tell us a little bit about the Seattle scene and how that changed.
Capriole Pence.
I was down in San Francisco and my family's up here. I was contemplating moving back up here, ended up getting a job working in Italy. But then I came early 90s, was checking it out. And my dad was sending me the articles about Louis Richmond.
Yeah.
Remember
Public
him?
relations.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that
He
was
still runs
his-
by Seatown every day.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's amazing. And so he had this whole spin, like my dad contacted him and wanted to get me up here and working in the restaurants. And anyway, it was amazing because it was Kathy Casey. They did this whole huge campaign
Yeah.
with Kathy Casey and Monique Barbeau with the Sheraton Hotel. And it just blew
Oh,
up.
yeah.
And then it was the, what's the one up on Capitol Hill, the hotel on Capitol Hill?
Sorrento.
The Sorrento. They had the budgets to do
Barbara
all
Figueroa.
of that. Yeah, so it was Barbara Figueroa, and all of a sudden, all these female chefs. It was the Seattle thing. I mean,
Yeah.
there were female chefs around. I mean, I can name them. The ones that were in San Francisco and in the Bay Area, the ones down in LA. And so when I was in culinary school in the early '80s, I like Terry. I mean, every kitchen was all guys.
So
Like-
as a female chef, I feel like what we've noticed over the years is that the lifespan of a female chef in the kitchen is a little shorter. Is that all got to do with having kids or anything of that nature? Or why do you suppose that is?
because we're smart.
'Cause you're
Bravo. Bravo to that. You know what? I will go with that 100%. If only I could have been smarter and stopped earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and it's because it's intense and it's
It's an
super
abusive
hard.
profession. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I worked the line for a long time, and then I was like, okay, wow, this is intense.
uh-huh.
And it's just, you have to make decisions. Do you want to have kids? Do you want to get married? And it's kind of like sailboat racing. The minute you have kids, it's like, oh, okay.
But it's
that's
funny
done,
because it
you know.
seems like men can be monochromatic, but women are not allowed to.
Well, but I was going to open a restaurant with Ted first, and I found out I was pregnant with Spencer.
Mhm.
Bang.
Yeah.
That was it. Game over. And Ted, that was one of the things Ted and I put out there was like, hey, if kids are involved, and he's like, are you planning on having kids? And I said, oh no, later down the road, blah, blah, and Ted's like, I lost a marriage. I have two beautiful girls and I didn't see them grow up. I have no idea.
His
They-
first wife, Margie, is so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just was never there. And it fractured, and so you have to make decisions about your life and your family and the whole nine
This is
yards.
definitely a case of many in the restaurant industry of people who have not been able to keep their marriage together because of one person never been home. and
you're not home nights and you're not home weekends
Right.
too. I mean, the more
Right.
traditional social time.
Unless it's a unit like you and Jackie and you guys. I mean, the child, right, was with you.
She's a restaurant baby. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is that you've got to make decisions that way. A lot of Asian families, you see the whole family, you see the kids in the corner. When I go down to the I district, there's younger families
Yeah.
and the kids are in the corner doing their schoolwork.
And there's certain cultures where women do dominate the kitchen. Like if you
Right.
go any Thai restaurant in the city, it's got a female chef in the back there, or Vietnamese restaurants oftentimes. There's just it's culturally was inappropriate, say in your era in France, but it
Mhm.
was not the case in other parts of the world.
Yeah, but in the mid 90s too, I mean, what was in vogue? Ethnic restaurants were not in vogue. Those were places you went, for the heck of it, but they weren't considered fine dining like where
And Caucasian chefs like myself were trying to replicate what they were doing, not unlike Caucasian musicians replicating the Motown sound and a lot of the black music that was
Right.
coming out, right?
Right.
So,
right. And
right or wrong, that's what we were doing.
Yeah, remember the whole Pacific Rim thing?
Yeah,
I
Tom?
do.
Yeah.
I was
Hello. I mean, it was
Yeah.
amazing. All those chefs, male and female, in the Pacific Northwest, involved with the development. Well, that was not happening in San
But you
Francisco.
might also say that actually opened the door to get the respect that we have now for those cuisines
Correct.
because we exposed some of our
Absolutely.
customers to that.
100%.
But never understanding really the cultural appropriation that we were kind of being part of.
right.
So it's interesting how it all kind of comes around.
Right.
Okay, before we go, name your number one female chef, and not a restaurant, not like Julia, but for me it's Alice Waters.
Well,
And she had male chefs under her all the time who claimed to have done all the work, but I love how she kept Chez Panisse on the road there.
I'm gonna have to mention Sophie Pic in France, who took after the family business and kept 3-star restaurant going.
Which one?
Sophie Pic
Oh.
in Valence.
Okay.
And I mean, maintaining a 3-star Michelin restaurant is not
Yeah, just like
exactly.
Maggie Lacoste did here.
Yeah, I mean,
New York.
and Maggie at Le Bernardin, but that's a strong fit.
On the West Coast, I'd have to say the Two Hot Tamales.
Mhm.
Mary Sue and Susan.
Yeah. And then on the East Coast, Lindsay Shire.
Lydia.
Lydia Shire.
up there. At,
Man, she was in the trenches the
Yeah.
whole
Oh
time.
yeah,
she was.
yeah.
and Susan, her sous chef, was awesome too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, roasting marrow bones. It's going to be odiferous. When we come back,
Bless you.
roasting marrow bones. Thank you so much on Cairo Radio, the Hot Stove Society show. What's the word I wanted where it becomes fragrant?
Aromatic.
Oh, DeFerris, he left town last week.
Oh, for art thou odiferous.
Oh, DeFerris, I heard he's coming back.
Oh, happy odiferous. This is the okay.
Okay.
On that note,
Isn't that book incredible? I know. Tom's got this wonderful lending library out there. And then, yeah. I know.
getting rid of bed bug. Yeah, just get rid of the bed. Yeah, no, just get rid of the bed. That would be number one.
All right, we're going to roast some bones here at the Hot Stove Society on Cairo Radio. I'm Tom Douglas.
And I'm Terry Rochero, the chef in a hat.
And chef, this is, I call them pub bones because you find them in lots of restaurants now, especially, oddly enough, restaurants that don't have a lot of other things on the menu. They're kind of like this little fun treat.
Sure.
It feels exotic, but it doesn't take a lot of effort, right?
Right.
You get a femur bone and you slice it lengthwise, and
Or you buy them sliced.
or you definitely have to buy them sliced.
Yeah.
Most people don't have a bandsaw in
Correct.
their kitchen, but tell us about how this kind of became popular, because I think of it being an old world, like a European type thing to begin with. I was never exposed to it till maybe 30 years ago or
Right,
so
right.
in our cuisine. Tell us about
Well, when I was a kid, the bones were not used that way either. We were taking the marrow out of the bone and we were using the marrow differently. Like, for example, if you're making a bean stew, instead of finishing it with a pound of butter, you just use some bone marrow, then you pan sear and then put everything into the bean stew and you just instantly flavor your bean stew
Right.
really nicely.
Because it's all fat, really, right?
It's all fat.
Yeah. And so are you saying that your mom would go to the butcher shop and buy the marrow or buy the
Correct.
marrow bone and scoop it out?
We would buy the marrow bone
Okay.
by itself. And you could buy the bone also on the side, or you could buy both of them together. But in general, you buy the marrow on the side. And the butcher, you don't have much. Marrow is not like the top round. It's not like it comes in millions of pounds out of a beef. There's not that much marrow. So it's a very specific item that the butcher would have. Hey, I got some marrows. Do you want some? Yes. So it's like the little treat. But you buy the marrow, and you would do. To me, the most common one is the pan-sear the marrow, season the marrow, pan-sear it, and then put it into something like a stew, like I was saying, a bean stew. Or
I saw lots of recipes for tarts and things like that too.
Well, that's more the Lyon area of France, where I'm from. Not quite so much that way, but in many restaurants, like in the Lyon area, they do serve the bone like you see it nowadays, on the half cut bone, and then baked under the salamander.
So is it baked? Oh, so it's broiled.
Yeah, broiled.
Yeah.
Sorry, not baked. Broiled, seasoned and broiled, and that very simply done. And it comes with
Salt.
a nice little. Sea salt is usually on the side. They give it to you to just season your own, and it can come with julienne pickle, like cornichon. Julienne cornichon, just to match that rich heaviness and fatness, and sea salt. And very simply, and then you get that it has to be hot. There's nothing grosser than a bone marrow bone that comes to you and it's not hot.
A little bit raw.
Disgusting, as a matter of fact.
Let's talk about that for a second, because like when you're making foie, which is I would equate to similar fat levels as marrow, where but you can overcook foie, right? And you cook, the fat just drips right out of it. You end up with a sponge of cellulose because you've drained all the fat out of the foie when you cook it. With beef bones, you think of them as always being well done, well cooked. You just said you had to do it that way. How do you keep it so that all that fat doesn't render right out of the marrow?
Well, you keep it in the bone.
I know that.
And that's why they do it like that. So you don't end up just with a little bit of a jelly kind of piece of meat. You end up with all the fat around it. When you're eating a bone marrow, a roasted bone marrow, you're actually eating fat, melted fat.
Right.
And a little bit of consistency in the middle. But that, in general, if it's baked all the way, there is very little left. Just like you said with foie gras, is the same thing. It shrinks down to 1/3 of the size of what you started with. Foie gras is actually more consistency meat than bone marrow has.
Yeah, it is.
Bone marrow is also a great thing to mix. I did that at Rovers a couple of times, is to take bone marrow, mix it with butter, like blend it cold with butter, and then season it with fresh herbs, chives and thyme, and then use that as a finished product on those little singing scallop. I used to do the singing scallop and put a little spoon of that and then bake the singing scallop.
It wasn't singing after that, was it?
It wasn't. I was singing. The scallop was being eaten.
Okay, so if somebody let's start from the beginning, so that if somebody wants to try, because you only really see these things in restaurants,
right?
You go to your butcher shop, you ask for what?
I would ask for the piece of bone that's cut lengthwise.
The femur, right?
Yeah. The femur. So
and
it's beef,
how
by the
big?
way.
How big do you think is?
Well, it's about.
Do you like to get the whole one?
Yeah,
or do you like to get chunks?
No, I like to get the whole, or you could have those cut in half, but it's better if you take the whole thing. I mean, if it's too big for you, you can share it with someone else. But in general, by the way, it's quite rich. You're eating fat.
And people generally eat it as kind of an appetizer. It's not really an entree.
Right.
Yeah.
But so you can share it with somebody else. Very important to have some nice little garlic bread, like country bread, toasted garlic, and you don't really need to put butter, but with butter it's always better. So
or olive oil, but you don't need a lot because you're putting fat on. You're putting fat on it, right? So you don't need a lot. Okay, let's go back one more time. We've got our we've been to the butcher. We've got our bone. It's sliced lengthwise so that you have a strip of marrow exposed. You're going to put that on a sheet pan or in a
Definitely
saute
on a
pan
sheet pan.
because it's going to drip a little bit.
Correct.
And you want to get it up tight under the broiler.
Right. And if your bone is not standing correctly flat, because you don't want to have your bone sideways, because otherwise all the fat's going to run on your pan.
Right.
So put a little bit of salt underneath your bone so your bone is actually steady.
Rock salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rock salt or even salt, whatever you have for salt. Put that under the bone so the bone doesn't move.
The same thing you might do to an oyster on the half shell that you want to
Correct.
broil, right? You have to get it to a place that it'll sit level.
Find a base so then it's stable and flat. So
I use egg cartons for my oysters.
oh yeah, very
'cause
smart.
They work beautifully, but
Yeah.
I think that under a beef bone, they would start to burn up.
Yeah, they would burn.
Takes much longer.
Correct. And so
Okay, so now we want to pull them
Seasoning
off
is
and
only-
do what?
only pepper. I put ground pepper on top of my marrow. That's raw.
And salt, right? No, you
No, I
like the
put the
salt on the
salt
side.
afterward.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do garlic or if you want to do kind of flavoring like this, make sure it's fine chopped, really fine chopped, because that's not going to take very long to cook, by the way. It doesn't take long to bake a beef bone. You know, it's fat. So it's,
And the bone retains the heat, so it literally is
Correct.
nice on the table for a bit.
Yeah.
It stays warm.
but again, make sure it's hot when you serve it because it's really disgusting when it's cold.
Okay, so now we've pulled it out. We've served it. We have cornichon. We've got a
Get
little
julienne cornichon,
flake.
sea salt, and that's it. Or you could have chopped chives
Uh-huh.
to finish at the end.
Uh-huh.
So it's a fun little appetizer. And then don't forget your garlic bread.
Does this work on any other animal bones? Have you tried it?
No, lamb. I've done lamb, but lamb is really
Certainly
small.
veal would work, but
It's
yeah.
veal would work for sure. Yeah, usually it's beef bone because that's what's in the market. That's the most common one too. And if you just don't want to eat it, you can just slowly put it in the oven and render that fat, and use that fat for searing your steak or for cooking as a side. I mean,
So what do you do with the bones afterwards? Because it seems a shame. They're not cheap.
no,
It
no.
used to be like a butcher throwaway. or,
Correct.
Here's one for your dog, and
I
now
make a
like
stock.
this. So you make a stock,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I put that in a stock. Absolutely. I just actually put them back in the oven, keep roasting them. And, you know, when you make a stock, the flavor comes from the actual marrow because you don't actually take the marrow out of the bones when you do a stock.
Right.
But now that you've taken the marrow out, you've taken a lot of the flavor, but I still roast them because I don't want to throw them away. I still roast them and make a stock with it. And it's a light flavor beef stock. You know, it's even though it's brown bones and vegetables, it's still it's a very light flavor brown stock, but it's still a good stock. So you can use that, and you know, then you can grind it and put it in your garden. They're like
I'll get
looking
right
at
on
me,
that, chef.
looking at me like, no way, this is gonna happen.
Uh-huh.
But if you could grind those bones, this is good calcium for your garden.
Mhm.
Just saying.
I just want to eat it so I can collect the beautiful old-fashioned marrow
I
spoons.
know exactly.
I'm just
Oh,
into it for the
sterling
spoons.
silver, yeah.
Sterling silver.
Exactly.
And the recipe I was looking at had a beautiful coarse parsley salad on the side,
Mm,
which I think would be the
Perfect.
excellent counterpoint.
Better
Yeah.
with the fat.
Yeah.
The other thing is, and I think most dog owners know this, you can't give your dog those bones once they're cooked, right? Because they want to splinter.
well, I
Or
don't
is it-
know, but I would.
No.
No, I know you would not, but I said that's because I don't have a dog, so I would.
Well,
And it'd be
same way
dead.
you don't give them cooked chicken bones either, right? Like they can actually eat
You know,
and chew.
I'm gonna tell you something about this. This is
I'm not a dog guy.
my version of all this is maybe you have a city dog because when I grew up on the
Maybe you have
farm,
a city dog.
there is nothing because when I grew up on the farm, there was nothing that dog would not eat. I mean, and we definitely didn't have a menu for him either.
Mhm.
It was not like we went to the store and buy some. No, you eat what we eat, and most
Yeah,
importantly,
we don't
you
go to the
eat-
store either. It actually comes delivered by FedEx in frozen raw packages that
That's
we
right.
peel and eat.
Back in 1965, in a small village in France, FedEx did not come.
Yeah.
There
Well,
was none of that.
I think we have a city dog that lives on our farm. Then that's what I'm saying. The wild world of breadsticks. Pamela is going to give some to our audience here, And you're going to look for them in the store. I've got a few favorite brands. On Cairo, it's the Hot Stove Society Show, 97.3 FM.
There's a brewery on Beacon Hill that does the bone marrow aioli.
Uh-huh.
With sweet potato fries.
Nice.
That's excellent.
I bet. Although it doesn't sound hot like Terry's.
No, it's not hot, but in aioli, it's.
Yeah, they're just made of mayonnaise out of the fat. Yeah. Kathy said.
That's fine. As long as you're saying it is good. I just was worried that it was. I refreshed my browser.
No wonder. It's trying to keep us awake.
Cool.
I think it's just
I just love the delay. Okay.
a lot of stress on the Wi-Fi. It might slow you
Oh.
refreshing your browser, but it'll be there.
Okay.
You make your own breadstick, Tom?
These are.
What's the cream?
Olive. Oh, the cream? That's a roe spread. Caviar
It's
spread.
just like anchovies.
I'm loving it.
Greek style caviar spread. Wow.
Where'd you get these, Pam? Up with that.
Agora.
I like this.
Never been my favorite.
The what?
Garam masalata.
Not your favorite?
I said it's never been my favorite.
Fish roll. Great caviar.
All right.
It's time to explore the wide, wide world of breadsticks here at the Hot Stove Society Show. Maybe I'll just choke on one in the time being. I've got a mouthful of Mastro Cesare Antica Forno Piemontese Rustic Green Olive Grissini, or breadsticks. They're artisan breadsticks, olive oil, and sea salt with a little bit of flecks of green olive in them. Pamela, you often come in with a little treat, a little surprise. Where did you find these? Because I have not seen these in my grocery store.
This wonderful store, Agora, up on 15th on Capitol Hill, who has a treasure trove of Mediterranean specialties. I went up there to get the chocolate sauce we need for our dinner tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
and they were out.
They were out of the chocolate sauce?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But I ended up going to
So we're
our-
going to Nutella instead?
No, I found an even better one that is actually from Italy at Chef Shop,
Uh-huh.
from an Italian chocolate manufacturer in Piedmont who gets the hazelnuts there. So we are hooked up.
So where's the one that we loved that we tasted on Christmas Eve?
It was sold out. It's coming back.
But where is that from?
France.
Oh, that was a French
Well,
one.
yeah.
I much
they
prefer the Italian one.
See,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just to show your palate.
Let's talk breadsticks. There are Alessi is the brand that I buy at the grocery store,
yeah.
and they have, do you remember being charmed when you used to go to Italian restaurants like the Pink Door in the very beginning and stuff, and you'd sit down and their bread service would be like this little plastic bag full of maybe 8 or 10 little tiny thin breadsticks. You open it up and you just chow away on those breadsticks. And
Yep.
I still buy those. They're under the brand name Alessi. You can get them at most grocery stores, and they have a couple of different ones. I like the rosemary garlic versions, which are the tiny ones in the separate bag.
Right.
But they also make like a big sesame seed coated, almost
I
like a
haven't seen that
cigar
one.
size breadstick. That is really good. I love just slathering salted butter on them, and really tasty. But breadsticks are kind of a lost art, don't you think?
Yeah, I want them more. That's I've been trying to make them out of pizza dough for fresh lunches.
That would
but
work fine, right?
Oh yeah. Why do you say trying?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm getting them rolled out thin enough to get the texture that I'm looking for, the crunch. They end up being a little doughy. Remember the ones we used to have at Red Hook? Those thick ones? They end up more like that, chewy, spongy. But I want more crispness.
So for us, when we make breadsticks here for Hot Stove, we take a bowl of pizza dough from Serious Pie, and then I kind of beat it down into a little bit of a patty, and then I take a pizza cutter and I slice a really thin slice off the bowl, and then I take it and then I work it with my hands on the counter, where you kind of rub your hands back and forth and push to the outside so you lengthen that strand of dough.
Exactly.
And now with our new pizza spice in the
Baby.
in the line, you simply just brush maybe a little egg wash over top of that and put on your spice or your sesame seeds or
Rosemary or
whatever it is that you want to flavor them with. It's good to roll some of that stuff in there too, but that is a delicious way to do it. And if you want them to be more crunchy, you simply cook them at lower temperature. Longer at lower temperature. And typically they're not real brown when you pull them out. Typically they're more of a blonde breadstick, and they are a delicious,
and the
tasty
skinnier
version.
makes the driest, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger the roll, you have more chance to get it chewy on the inside.
I think that's why I want to perfect it, because most of the grocery stores now have pizza dough, or you could get Serious Pie dough now.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, most of the grocery stores do have
Yeah.
pizza dough.
And so making them at home fresh for your guests.
Can you buy dough across the street?
I don't know, actually. I don't think so.
She just said that.
But we do. I mean,
I'm excited. I'm
internally-
like, yes.
Internally, we do, but I don't know, honestly. So we'll leave it at that. Our dough is very difficult to work with. It's a very hydrated dough,
Oh,
which is
so
how
it
we
sticks
get.
like crazy.
Yeah, it's how we get to where we want to be on our pizza crust. There's other ways. There's cheater ways of making breadsticks, right? So there's a pastry brand in the freezer at your grocery store called Dufour,
Oh yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
is a puff pastry.
Right.
I
real-
love those.
Real buttery.
That's the way
And-
we used to make allumette, call it allumette au fromage, which is basically thin layers of puff pastry, put a little cheese on it, like Gruyere,
And then twist.
roll it and twist,
Yeah.
and then bake it.
Those
you
are
know.
cheese sticks. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's you just gave away what I was going to do. So tell
Except
people.
I said it better.
Yes, you did. Calumet. I thought it was a city in Indiana.
Allumette means
That's Calumet,
allumette. That's Calumet. That's in Illinois.
and that's
Um,
also a baking powder.
Yes, but it's allumette au fromage is the word allumette means matchstick.
Ah. And so you take that puff pastry, you kind of roll it out. Again, you could use your pizza cutter or a knife.
Yeah.
You probably want it to be about a 1/2 inch wide.
Yeah.
And then what do you use to get whatever the ingredients, like the cheese or I like to put smoked paprika on there
I like to do
before
egg
I
wash,
twist.
egg
so
wash,
you do egg wash, right? Same
and
thing.
then I do a little salt, and then I put Parmesan cheese. I mean Gruyere, usually very fine shaved Gruyere, and then twist the whole thing together, and then put that on a baking sheet, and then go for it. 350 degrees. In 5 minutes, you've got gorgeous little allumette au fromage.
And so a cheese stick, and You would serve those how? Just by themselves with a
Yeah,
cocktail?
Usually it's served by
Great with
themselves.
a lucatini?
Yeah, I mean, I would serve that with a cocktail for sure,
Mhm.
not with anything. There is no dipping sauce. There is nothing like that with those allumettes or fromage. It's just the flavor is the cheese on the piece of dough,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
Just kind of like the gougère. When you do gougère, it's the same thing. You're doing a dough with some cheese. It's
So
the same
in my
basic.
mind, the number one mistake people make when they make something like that is that they don't cook them long enough. They don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
any brown or
Yeah.
any caramelization
Big
on
mistake.
the cheese.
Bake it all the way. Make sure it's brown. And we're not talking white brown. We're talking dark brown.
French brown.
Yeah. I mean, really baked all the way. And you'll have something that will be crispy, that will stay on the counter for quite a few hours. So you can do this, by 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a 6 o'clock arrival of your guest. It's perfectly fine. You can also flash it in the oven for just barely a minute in the oven at 300 degrees. Gives it a little perkiness just before you serve them. And then give it to your guest as you give them a cocktail. A martini and a cheese stick is fabulous.
Let's go back to breadsticks for a second. For some reason, I can't remember the bakery that I was in that makes the breadsticks that are soft, but they're just full of olives. You know which one I'm talking about? Anybody?
Well, Princey used to do that
Oh,
beautiful.
Princey made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That was, I'm so sad that's gone because they did a little mortadella sandwich
Uh-huh.
in those breadsticks, and you got the chew of the olive, and then you got to the mortadella. It's like, oh,
Yeah, Princey is no longer, I don't think. Although they might still be at the roastery. I'm not sure what they're doing at
It's no longer
Starbucks.
with
roastery.
Starbucks?
They gave up the brand.
Oh.
Didn't quite work out for them.
Too
anyway,
bad.
we need to learn how to make those.
But anyway, so in that scenario, you take that same pizza dough and you work it first with the olives, chop the olives, put them in. Don't chop it too small. And then you do the same thing. You take your pizza cutter to the bowl of pizza dough and you roll them out. And the olives, there's so many, they would literally be falling out of the dough if you have enough, right?
Right.
And then you just bake them, and the dough kind of bakes up and around the chunks of olives. They look like they're not going to stay in, but as the dough rises, it kind of encompasses the olives.
Kind of like the olive bread idea, same idea.
Yeah. Such
Can
a
you-
delicious snack, though.
Yeah, and you could do that with nuts too. Instead of doing olives, you could do nuts. You could do toasted hazelnut, ground, break them down into small pieces, put that in your dough, and then finish that the same way. With a little cheese, maybe.
Can you taste the olive in this breadstick?
Oh,
I can.
absolutely.
In fact-
Oh, yeah.
So I would recommend this breadstick to anyone. This is a different style, and this is a dry
yeah,
bake.
the
Yeah.
dry version.
And actually baked in Piemonte.
Yeah.
It smells like olive and it tastes like olives, which
Okay,
is really
good.
nice.
Perfect for the martini.
What is your favorite dip for breadsticks? Me, when I
Butter.
have a trashy night after maybe too many glasses of wine or something, and you get the munchies, I go to my snack drawer and I get out the breadsticks, and I go right over to the cube of butter that's on the counter, and I just literally drag my breadsticks right across the cube of
It's
butter.
funny because that was the only thing that wasn't in there already.
Olive
Butter.
tapenade.
Yeah, me too. I love
Yeah.
tapenade.
Tapenade.
Tapenade and breadstick is a beautiful start.
What did you bring for us today, Pam?
It's a caviar spread, terra masalata. So it's, what was it, roe type in it?
Codfish.
Cock
Codfish.
roll.
Codfish roe. And it's creamy from the canola whip.
Ah.
Isn't that the first ingredient?
Yeah.
I think if we were going to make it, we would use some sort of rich dairy. What,
No, probably olive oil, but
olive oil?
This is classic Greek. I mean, you
The
see
first
this on every
ingredient-
menu.
Is canola oil and the second is carp roe.
What's the audience think?
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a beautiful spread. I would definitely recommend this on an easy way to make toast or to make anything with that because it's got a beautiful umami. I think it's really nice.
It's never been my favorite. I've always, you see this on every Greek restaurant, and it's just never been my thing.
But I've seen you eat caviar straight before.
Have you?
Oh.
I was at Seattle Caviar the other day picking up for our dinner tomorrow night, and they all excited about a new domestic beluga or domestic or sustainable caviar that they are selling now.
From Idaho or from?
No, I don't remember where it's from. but it's certified and all that kind of thing. Which is, so we haven't bought beluga caviar for years, right? But so, well, what's it cost? $850 an ounce.
That's why they're excited.
An ounce.
An ounce. Yeah. I said, no thanks.
I'm so glad I don't have an
No
addiction.
thanks.
I
You
just
know what it's
love
time for, Chef?
it. Oh, I guess it's time for tasty trivia.
Food for thought, rub with love, tasty trivia right here on the hot stove. We're going to make mincemeat out of Chef Bridget Charters.
Maybe.
Mincemeat. Now's the time to put away your mincemeat for next November's Thanksgiving.
All right, Bridget. Banana. Is that a bay tree you got in front of you there?
Breadsticks for us?
All those questions. Is that a bay tree you have in front of you?
It's a branch of a bay tree.
Chef Annie is in the house.
Annie! Whoa!
She's got a lot going on today. We're doing we're participating in a fundraiser for Community in Schools Washington. They've got their big virtual event.
Can I just, do
tomorrow.
we do anything for money?
I know it's like today for lunch it's free. Tonight for dinner it's a fundraiser. Tomorrow is another fundraiser.
They're paying.
Last Sunday?
They're paying for their meal kits.
Great.
So they're
So basically you're covering the carrots.
So she's got some meal kits to get ready for the attendees to the auction, and then she has to cook for 100.
Maybe you could become a 5013 nonprofit.
We're pretty close. Okay.
I don't know how you cannot donate to one of these. That sounds judgmental. I don't mean it to be, but when you're watching what's going on in Ukraine right now, it's just,
Yep.
It's
Agreed.
bizarre. It's bizarre.
this is how we solve our problems in 2022. It could have been 200 years ago we would solve our problems this way.
1,000 years ago, nothing's changed.
The Dark Ages, for God's sake.
We have the technology.
To go back to the Dark Ages.
No, well, we have the technology
to not do it this way.
to not do it this way. Yeah.
Apparently
You know
we
what?
don't.
You know what? Back to the segment we did a few minutes ago. Woman in power. That should be about to change
Angela
something.
Merkel. Yeah.
Apparently we don't. I mean, if you can manipulate social media any way you want, that's bad power. All right, here we go. It's time for Rub with Love tasty trivia right here at the Hot Stove Society Show. Rub with Love is a family of spice blends, tangy sauces, and a perfect shallot mustard. We keep them in your pantry to dress up any meal. You can buy them at Sean Del Torre. I'm going to start that again. Rub with Love is a family of spice blends, tangy sauces, and a perfect shallot mustard. If I do so, say, Sean, we're going to try that again. Rub with Love is a family of spice blends, tangy sauces, and if I do say so myself, a perfect shallot mustard. Keep them in your pantry to dress up any meal. You can buy them at Wild Salmon Seafood Market at Fisherman's Terminal, Skagit's Own Fish Market in Burlington, Seattle Fish Guys on 23rd Avenue South in West Seattle, and Princess Seafoods, Fort Bragg, California, all across the country, or online at tomdouglas.com. Pamela, we're ready for this, and we have Chef Charters is going to join us. And she, other than our Chef Elmore here, oddly enough, there's a bunch of egomaniacs here at the Hot
There
Stove
are.
that think they can kick our butts every week.
And
But
they
Terry
do
and I-
mostly.
Annie, come
Don't
here.
give
come
in
help
like
me.
that.
I'm not giving in.
You're giving
I'm
in.
just saying they do mostly.
All right, tell us how to play the game, and I know I'm going to win, so let's talk about who the loser is going to be.
Oh,
Well, the questions are all about American food. I was feeling
Ooh.
kind of patriotic and sentimental late last night, and so I think Terry's gonna lose.
I'm going to make the question next week.
Yeah, each person's getting 3 questions, and
Five.
5 questions, and then the one with the most wrong is the loser.
And they
Who's
pay
gonna-
for shipping, right?
Who's going to be the recipient of the gift today?
This beautiful woman in the front row. What is your name, please? Oh, Oh, Diane is our winner today
Wow,
of
nice.
3 of our new rubs.
Oh,
Beautiful.
nice.
Yeah, you're gonna get to pick them out.
So whoever the loser is, which
We'll
they
deliver
already-
them.
She already decided it was me. I'll be delivering the package.
All right, let's do this.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Rotaro,
Yes.
which food was rationed after World War II ended, but not during the war?
God, that's
Food or champagne?
Food.
Which food was rationed after the war,
But
but not during the war?
This is a tough one.
I'm gonna say
Important staple of American diet.
Gotta be.
Favorite food.
Gotta be.
wait. I was gonna go with the what do
Starts
they
with
make
a
in
B.
Hawaii with the wasabi? I mean,
Masubi?
wait. What do they make? What do they call it? Spam.
Bread.
Spam was a much better item. I thought
Number
that
2.
that would have been funny if they ran out of spam after the war.
What company or the name of the person invented condensed milk?
Oh, everybody knows that.
Oh.
Really?
It's not Nestle, is it? You know who invented condensed
Starts
milk?
with a B.
With a B.
Yep,
That does
she's
not
on
help.
it.
That does not help me.
Mr.
So
Mr. Borden.
okay. Is it the name Borden?
Borden.
Beautiful.
Gail
Did anybody in
Borden.
the audience know that? Okay, can you come here and I need an assistant. Can you come here and be my assistant? You
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
bread too.
Get up there,
Oh.
Jim.
Okay,
Oh,
we're
okay.
retrieving.
I think you're gonna
So
need Jim.
Jim's gonna be my assistant here.
Number 3, Charlie Chaplin ate a boot in the movie Gold Rush. What was the boot made out of?
You actually know the answer?
No, I don't.
I called an assistant. He knew the first 2 answers. He doesn't know this one.
Licorice.
Oh, that's a great
Licorice would not
idea.
have gotten that.
So far, I'm
What?
scoring really well.
Number 4, what 2 ingredients make the dish Angels on Horseback?
Oh.
You know that one?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oysters, oysters and bacon.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Jim.
Thank
And
you.
Number 5, helping
We got
Terry
one. We got
get on the
one.
scoreboard. What are the 2 items that make up the dish Devils on Horseback?
Is it eggs?
No.
No.
It's bacon
Yep,
and
dried fruit.
Dried
Oh.
fruit, raisins,
Prunes.
prunes.
Yay, 2 for Team Terry.
Whoa. You know what? It's a good thing I had a
Way to go, chef. I mean,
good
Jim.
thing I had a helper, Jim. Thank you so much for putting me on the board. Because I think I would have done about a 0 here. 2.
All right, Bridget, we're touring America now.
All right.
Got some multiple choice to start. Which U.S. city does the poor boy, a type of submarine sandwich, using a French-style bread? Where does it trace its origins to? New Orleans, Los Angeles, Memphis, or Juneau?
New Orleans.
Exactly.
I knew that.
Your culinary tour of Arizona starts with breakfast. How about pancakes made with flour ground from which pods of which desert tree? Your options are sequoia, yew, maple, or mesquite.
Mesquite.
Yes.
How come I
Screaming.
didn't get options?
Multiple guests. Sorry.
Stop
Terry.
whining, chef. It's not pretty.
I'm not whining.
Number 3.
Showing the.
What Pennsylvania Dutch breakfast treat uses the leftover meat from pork? This is a favorite food of Tom.
Scrapple.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so I would have not.
Pam,
get
do you want to
that.
discuss
I taught
what
American
parts of the,
Regional.
you want, Pam loves to
You
talk
did?
about what parts of the pig are in scrapple.
Ooh,
Not
Like
yet.
the eyeballs and the
Snout,
eyelids. And the
All of you
snout.
above.
Trotters, the tail.
Now we're traveling to Boston,
Okay.
and you're headed to the Ye Old Union Oyster House for the area's signature dish, a soup made from cream, milk, potatoes, dill, celery, bacon, onions, and what popular mollusk?
Oh
Oysters.
no, clam.
Clams.
Oh, I knew
we
that.
got her. Oh. One for Jerry.
You're groveling, chef.
Do I get 2 more? Yes. I'm at
Which
60.
do you want multiple choice or you want to just go bold on this one? Which American state is Creole cuisine associated with?
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You don't need
Oh my
no
God, these were
multiple
all my
choice.
questions.
Super bold.
So you got to mix it up. Like
You
when
got-
she says it, you know. you can-
5 out of 5, Bridget.
No, I got one wrong.
Okay,
Tom
4 out
Douglas.
of 5.
Which of the following topics would not be found on a classic Chicago hot dog? Celery, salt, mustard, ketchup, or onions?
Would
Not
not be found. I'm going to go with ketchup.
Correct. Number 2. What do gizzards, chitlins, and tripe have in common?
Nobody wants to order them.
Think about their origin.
Well, gizzards are from animals.
More.
That
But
is
it's-
true.
It's a classification.
That they're
It's a
innards.
classification.
Yeah. Organ meats would be considered the correct answer. Gizzards are part of the chicken's digestive tract. Chitlins are pig intestines, and tripe is cow's stomach.
So,
I don't think he's getting
like
that
I
one.
said,
I
absolutely.
would say
Yeah.
I would say he's got it. I mean, he said
Oh, gee.
organs.
No.
Okay, no. Jim says
No.
no over there in the audience.
Oh, he's supporting you.
It's tough out there.
What fabulous dessert is made from a fruit that was brought to Florida by the Spanish and the Portuguese?
Key lime pie.
Yes, you got it. Now we're going to Buffalo. And after
Wings.
being deep
Anchor bar.
fried and coated in hot sauce, what poultry part is often served with sides of celery sticks and blue cheese dressing?
Chicken wings at the Anchor Bar.
Yeah.
Have you had them there?
No.
Oh.
Oh, man, this is a gimme. In New York City, you're in need of a libation. What signature cocktail do you
Manhattan.
Manhattan.
That's
I would have gotten all of these. Oh my God.
All right, I guess that makes Chef Thierry our loser today. So
Loser.
it would be fun to kind of watch you walk over and bring the winning prize to our winner.
To Diane, yes,
To
I will.
Diane,
I will
okay,
gladly
so-
do that.
If you want to be part of our show, you can join our community on YouTube. Get the link on our Tom Douglas website. If you're listening to the Hot Stove Society show on Cairo Radio, 97.3 FM. Show's produced by Pamela Hinckley, Sean McFadden, and our editor is Sean, don't call me Del Torre. And remember, also remember, if you miss any episode of our Hot Stove Society show on Cairo, you can listen via podcast. Just subscribe with your favorite podcast app.
Don't forget to support Ukraine and have a wonderful weekend. I also forgot to mention the blood donation.
How
I'm
did
doing-
it go?
I'm
Are
doing
you going
no,
tomorrow?
I'm doing Sunday.
It's nice knowing you.
I'm not giving all of it away, just a pint.
Oh, cheapskate. Blood soup, exactly. I would have a plate of blood sausage before you go to give your.
I love that.
Okay, I need quiet on the set. That includes the kitchen team, please. Hi, I'm Chef Tom Douglas.
And I'm Thierry Roturo, the chef in the hat.
This afternoon on the Hot Stove Society show, we talk about the Ukrainian community here. This afternoon on the Hot Stove Society show, we talk about the Ukrainian community in Seattle and their delicious foods, a peak of the season celeriac, induction cooking, and we honor Women's History Month as we recognize the chefs who helped shape our cooking. This afternoon on the Hot Stove Society radio show, we talk about the Ukrainian community here in Seattle and their delicious food, peak of the season celeriac, roasting, marrow bones, breadsticks, induction cooking, and we're going to honor some women chefs for Women's History Month.
It's a wrap. Thank you for coming in today. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
YouTube.
Thank you, team.
Bye, YouTubers.
It's good to hear Bridget.
Yeah. Well, you know, she's got a very busy sailing. She's competing in tennis at a very high level. She has a husband.